My name's Joe Biden. I am Jill Biden's husband. That's how I'm known in Washington. Mr. Mayor, thanks for the passport back into the city, into Nashua. The mayor showed me a picture of he and I when he was mayor in 1986 that we had taken. He looks the same. I don't know who the hell the guy standing shaking his hand is, but it's great to be back. And, I know no reason why any of you would know this, but New Hampshire politics is like Delaware politics. We have 1 million people. You have 1.3 million. Everybody knows everybody. We are mostly small towns. Our largest city is less than 100,000 people now. We have our state capital is 25,000 people. And everybody knows everybody. And everybody has sort of a sense of community. And they know whether they're Democrats or Republicans. They know in their gut what's right and what's wrong. I mean, they really do, even though they may very well, even though they very well may be at odds with each other on the issues, but they know they're raised in a way, they know the difference between right and wrong. It's instinctive by the vast majority of people in your state and mine. And, I look at the folks on the ticket this time. They've been friends of mine for a long time. I make no bones about it. I love Annie Custer. We've been campaigning along. We've been friends, and I don't think anybody the first time around or after that worked harder for Carol Shea Porter than I did, and probably had I not worked so hard the last time she would have won. Carol, we badly need you back in the House. I mean this sincerely. And Jeannie can tell you, although she's 40 years younger than I am and wasn't there as long as we overlapped a while, but things have changed, Jeannie, haven't they? For real.
Yes.
But I think we both believe and we know that still a clear majority of Republicans in the Senate are decent folks. They want to do the right thing. Like I was saying today, Jeannie, when the governor and I were at another stop, I said and I think I may have told you this, when the Republicans decided not to even hold a hearing for a Supreme Court justice, I picked up the phone and called 7 of our colleagues, Republicans. All 7 of them acknowledged to me, Joe, I know this is wrong. I know it's wrong. But Joe, if I go ahead and speak out, they'll really come after me. The mention of the Koch brothers and other major funders. And so I think, and I mean this sincerely, I make a prediction to you, and this is a dangerous thing to do in New Hampshire with the press here, because they'll remind me. But I make a prediction to you. If we win back the Senate, you will see the voting patterns of roughly 30 to 35% of those Republicans changing, because they will be in a position where they will not be held as accountable by the far right, and the far right will have, in fact, suffered a defeat, liberating them a little bit. And so it's really, really, really important. It's really, really important that we elect Maggie. Maggie and I have been friends for a long time. I've come to know Maggie's heart. I've watched her with Ben. I've watched her with her daughter, who I absolutely adore, from the time she was, 6, 7, 8 years old?
Yep.
And a wonderful, wonderful child. She's a young woman now, teaching. I've just watched her. We've campaigned up and down the state for other people together here. And I watched what she's done. I watched how when she put together in community colleges like this one up and down this state, how she put together job training programs that allow people who have the cognitive capability, and they do. Anybody, not a whole lot of people did it here, anybody can shovel coal into a blast furnace, can learn how, and I really mean this now, they've lost their jobs. But they're fully capable of knowing how to run a photovoltaic machine on a factory floor to make solar panels. She gets it. And when we talk about how hard she's worked to help people get re-employed. She talks about it in the way we were talking about what she did with Medicare, convincing the Republicans to come up with a plan that allowed the coverage of everybody under the Affordable Care Act. She didn't talk about it in terms of the numbers like everybody else does, which are important. She talked about it in a way, I'm going to say something outrageous, that I've been talking about it for a long time, and that's maybe why we're so simpatico. We're riding in a car, and no, actually I called you on the phone after you passed the legislation. And she said, Joe, what's so important about this, think of all the people who now have peace of mind. What she understands is what people need is a sense that their government is doing something for them, not to hand them anything, just give them peace of mind. I grew up in a neighborhood where people went to sleep staring at the ceiling thinking, for real, I mean this from the bottom of my heart, my God, what happens if my wife develops breast cancer or if I have a heart attack? We lose everything. We lose everything. For all that has been done in providing health insurance, the single most significant thing that we've done is give people, I mean this from the bottom of my heart, peace of mind. My dad used to say, I don't expect the government to solve my problem. I expect them to understand it. So the thing about Maggie is that old joke goes, two things you got to know about her, she's tougher than you and smarter than you. But the real thing about Maggie, and Jeannie spoke to this a little bit, Maggie knows what's worth losing over. I can't fathom, Maggie, if we had a Democratic nominee that said and did anything remotely like Trump did, even though she knew it would cost her with Democrats. I can't fathom Maggie. I mean this, again, I give you my word. I can't fathom Maggie looking at the camera and say, no, I think he or she is a role model for my children. There's certain things, folks, that make the job not worth it if you have to do and have to say. And what Maggie's done as governor has been remarkable. You have one of the lowest unemployment rates in the nation, 2.9%. And so Maggie's going to bring in an extensive amount of experience, but the most important kind of experience, knowing how to get things done. Folks, some of you Democrats get mad at me once in a while because every time we have a crisis in the Hill, I get sent up to deal with it. And I've usually been able to deal with it, to be very blunt about it. But even for some Democrats, compromise is a dirty word. You Democrats who think that, you are wrong. And you Democrats who think it, you're in the way. Because there's no way this country can move forward without the ability to arrive at a consensus on every important issue. For example, opioids. Jeannie's been fighting like hell to put forward our proposal to try to provide $1 billion to the states to help in this fight. But a Republican colleague, they won't even let it come up for a vote. They know in their heart, they know that's wrong. But they do not want to be viewed as somehow compromising. Think of all the work and progress that has been delayed and people hurt because there is no willingness on the part of the Republican leadership to compromise on anything. Guys, our system is built on the notion of consensus. Maggie knows how to do that without yielding on principle. There's always a way. There's always a way. And so there's 1,000 reasons I could go on as to why Maggie needs to be in the Senate helping Jeannie. Because she's got heart. She has a value set that no one had. You know, what Jeannie knows, and she's known from the beginning, is, constituencies reward people for standing on principle even if they disagree with them. I won 7 Senate races in Delaware. Yet 1/3 of my state who voted for me said, I don't agree with the boy, but he tells you where he stands. I mean this sincerely, not a joke. Not a joke. When did all of a sudden significant and real talented elected officials forget that voters reward authenticity? They care about it, not meanness, not pettiness, but just authenticity. And speaking of meanness and pettiness, I'm going to be serious for a few moments about Trump, and I'm not looking for people to cheer or boo about him. I'm not looking for any applause lines. I just want to tell you straight from my heart why this bothers me so much. There are only 13 people in American history who have ever served in the Senate as long as I have. I've seen an awful lot of people come and go, wonderful women and men, and I've worked with 8 presidents. But ladies and gentlemen, the things that Donald Trump is saying and doing are genuinely a threat to the democratic process, which is based on trust. Think about what it is. No democratic process can be sustained without a sense of trust. Trust. Not only is he disqualified by what all the press is talking about today, and he's been talking about, because he's questioning not the legitimacy of our elections, the legitimacy of our democracy. If you question, if you assert that a democratic election is fixed, you are attacking the very essence of the notion whether we have a democratic system. But think of the other things that we don't get, that have not been covered very much. You know, he's been briefed. Every nominee who wants to become a nominee gets briefed by the Intelligence Committee. I'm going to say something in front of Jeannie that I think she would acknowledge. I don't know anybody who knows more about foreign policy than I do, just because I've been doing it for so long. Not because I'm so smart, because I've met every major world leader. Every major world leader. And Jeannie's heard me say it, all politics is personal, particularly international relations. I have traveled over 1,200,000 miles as vice president. The reason I do, and with the great honor of working with Barack, is everybody knows when I speak for him. I'm not the Secretary of State, I'm not the Secretary of Defense, I'm not National Security, I'm the Vice President who everyone knows what I say goes because they know I wouldn't say anything that the President doesn't support. And here's what's happening. No, it's not about me. It's about the system. Here's what's happening. I was recently down in Australia after the election. The president wanted me to go back and sort of re-solidify the relationship as it related to China and the rebalancing and all that. I got a phone call from the president of one of the Baltic states, who I knew when he was a defense minister. Joe, you've got to come to the Baltic states. You've got to come to Latvia. And please come now. So why? He said, because my people, all of Eastern Europe, is wondering whether or not the United States is committed to its NATO obligations. We're being threatened by Putin on the border. 35% of our population is Russian-speaking. We're worried about what they call initially the little green men. That is the Russian special forces without their patches on coming in. He said, did you see what Trump said? So I stopped in Washington from Australia and spent 2 days in the Balkan states, Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia. You know what they wanted me to do? They wanted me to make a nationwide address, a Baltic-wide address with all 3 presidents standing with me to reassure them that we were good on our word, that the NATO alliance, no, I'm not looking to be clapped. This is to let you know how much damage is already being done by this continued romance with Putin. What did he say last night? Think about this and what it really means to our national security. Last night, when Hillary pointed out that a total of 17 agencies, intelligence, that's the Defense Intelligence Agency, the CIA, 17 different intelligence agencies, which he's briefed on, because we brief on the major things both candidates, so they're ready the day they're elected to be up to speed. And he said She said 17 intelligence agencies, civilian and military, have concluded that the cyber attacks come from the highest levels of the Kremlin, and that they are designed to influence our election. She said, basically, she started to say, Donald Trump spoke up and say, I think it's, I don't know how you know that. It could be China, it could be anyone. Russia, China, anybody. And he said, and our country had, he said, after a quote, and it's been made public to all the press, what the intelligence community knows. And he said, quote, our country has no idea. This is so fundamental. What an indictment of who we are. What an indictment of our capabilities. What an indictment of our military. Sending a message that flies into what Putin is doing in Russia, saying America's weak, they're crippled, they cannot move forward. That's how he's keeping support in Russia. And then he says, as a major party candidate, for the world to hear, playing into the hands of Putin, that our country has no idea. Can you fathom any presidential candidate ever having said that, or would they say that? Ladies and gentlemen, this guy is far beyond a bad character with women. That's enough to disqualify him. But ladies and gentlemen, last night, here's what he said. This guy representing the grand old party about Mosul. I have been put in charge of Iraq going back to 2009 by the president. A month after we're in, Secretary of State, National Security Advisor, Secretary of Defense all came in and said, here's how we laid out your plan for Iraq, Mr. President, and he turned, without telling me, he turned and said, no, Joe will do Iraq. He knows more about it than you guys. You listen to Joe. I said, that doesn't help me much, Mr. President. But all kidding aside, I've been doing this a long, long time, back when I was chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee. We know what's in Mosul. We know ISIS is there, or they call it Daesh in the Middle East. We know who's in Raqqa, in Syria, the other part of the, quote, caliphate. We know they are plotting and planning attacks on the United States of America. Our intelligence knows they're there. This has been a plan underway for some time. And this man says, and by the way, folks, those of you who've traveled a lot know, the world listens to everything we say, because so much of what we do, they have to depend on for their freedom and security. And what does this guy say? This guy says, quote, the only reason why they did it, meaning move on Mosul, is because she's running for the office of president and they want her to look tough. Can you imagine this guy becoming commander-in-chief and getting 1 ounce of respect from a single, solitary military man or woman? I said, and I was criticized, my son Bo, who passed away, was a decorated war hero, a year in Iraq and a civilian volunteer for a year in Kosovo. No, that's not what I'm saying. I said, thank God I don't have to worry about whether my son is still there, because he plays into the hands of our enemies so uniquely. It's either he is so stupid that he doesn't understand. No, it's possible. It's possible he doesn't understand the damage he's doing. But look, folks, flying up here, I have a nice speech that's prepared, and you know, I think I've campaigned more for Hillary than any other person. I have been into 17 races. That's all I'm doing. And I have one of the best-known national reporters in the country following me. And we were talking last night when I was coming back from Massachusetts after having been campaigning. Where the hell was I before that? I can't even remember. And we sat in the cabin and we were talking. He was asking me questions. And I couldn't understand. I was trying to figure out why is there, I have this nagging feeling of almost more than frustration. What's bothering me so much beyond the obvious? And then I realized what it is. Because he, Trump, has been so outrageous, and the press it's not the press's fault. He has prevented the ability for the election to be conducted the way they're supposed to be, which is this. Elections are supposed to be a referendum on ideas. There's supposed to be a debate on ideas so that when whomever is elected, they can say with certitude, the majority of the people preferred my ideas over the other person's ideas. That's how you solidify a country. Think about it. What angers me so much is because these debates have been so outrageous, because, look, if Hillary, I'll give you an example. Right now, we've achieved, with Jeannie's help, we have the highest graduation rate as a percentage in the history of the United States of America. A lot more to do. More Hispanics and African Americans graduate than ever in the history of America. That would ordinarily warrant the front page of the Boston Globe and the New York Times. That's big news. But it's relegated to a footnote. Not because they don't care about it, because they have to cover this asinine assertions that are being made. And so what the country's being deprived of, they're being deprived of what elections are supposed to be about. Maybe they don't like some of the stuff we Democrats are proposing. They have a right not to like it. But we should at least be able to hear it. There should be an outlet. And the press is not denying us that. It's just that this inundation of outrageous behavior and actions and words have smothered it. Look, Hillary Clinton, we've gone over the last 8 years from crisis, losing. Before I lowered my hand, the day I got sworn in on January the 20th, we'd already lost 680,000 jobs that month. We lost 800,000 before the month was over. We were told by every international and national economist that there was nothing we could do for the next 9 months to stem the loss because all the programs we put in place were going to take at least until the fall. We lost another 4 million jobs. So the president, through his incredible courage and leadership, he dug us out of this hole. We've gone from crisis to recovery. We've created more jobs than every other industrialized nation in the world combined. We got a lot more to do. But now we're on the precipice of a whole new breakthrough of what America can do. But what are we doing? We're not getting to talk about what Hillary is all about. I want you to know, one of the things we find out is, women are, in terms of education now, are as educated as men. That wasn't the case back in the 70s. A lot of stuff has happened for the better. But guess what? A significant number of women aren't in the job market. Why? Right here in this state, let alone in New York City or Washington or Los Angeles. If you have a family with 2 kids, child care is $14,500 a year. $22,000 in major cities. So what's happening? Women are making a rational decision to stay home and take care of their children because they can't make enough money to make the difference. So Hillary comes along with a proposal that your child care cost, if you make under a certain amount of money, will never be more than 10% of your disposable income. Ladies and gentlemen, You know what that will do? That'll increase the gross domestic product by somewhere between 6 and 0.8%, worth trillions of dollars over 10 years. Put people back to work. And it's paid for. It's not big spenders. Just the proposal the president I put forward tried to get passed. And I support the 4-year proposal, but just the 2-year proposal for community colleges like this place. You know, we put 9 million people in community college if we make it free. And you're able to go to 4-year colleges, or you don't get the community college that doesn't get the support. It costs $6 billion a year. You say, oh, Joe, man, there we go, big spending Democrats again. Well, guys, we have $1.3 billion worth of tax loopholes in the tax code per year. If you can find me a single economist who can justify more than $600 billion of that. The only reason for a tax loophole is does it promote a social good, or does it increase productivity and growth? Nobody can justify it. So here's what we do, and Hillary does. We say, look, we can pay that $6 billion by eliminating one tax loophole. It's called stepped-up basis. We're very precise. Stepped-up basis means if you're lucky enough to come from a wealthy family and your dad or mom buys $1 million worth of stock and over 4 years it accrues to $2 million in value, and your dad or mom goes to sell it, and on the way to sell it they get hit by a truck, God forbid. Had they sold it, they would have had to pay capital gains on the $1 million gain. Less than their income tax, but capital gain. But if they drop dead, it lands in their lap of their son or their daughter, and they sell it the same day, they pay zero tax. Now, only 0.4% of the people qualify this. They're very wealthy already, and they're patriotic. They're good people. I don't buy the malarkey that if you're wealthy, you're not patriotic. They're just as patriotic as poor people. But you know what that costs the Treasury every year? $17 billion a year not collected. So I can take that $17 billion, and Hillary will, pay for all the community college for free, increasing every econometric model shows the GDP by 0.2%, over $1 trillion, and I still have $11 billion a year to reduce the deficit. So folks, I'm not going to go into it all, but her view on paid leave. Right now, paid leave is required. 12 weeks for pregnancy. You get paid leave. You get leave. But it's not paid for. Hillary has a proposal for 12 weeks of paid leave. Paid leave. Equal pay for women. I can go on. But here's the point. You know, Hillary has detailed plans, and you can go on her website and read them. But that's not the way you educate a public. You educate it by going out and talking about it in simple, straightforward terms, debating it. By the way, no Republican will debate me. No, not a joke. No Republican will debate me on free community college. Because I just turn and say, okay, what is your higher value? Making sure the 0.4% gets $17 billion in a tax cut, that they already are very wealthy, or taking care of what every single corporate employer says. What do they say? We need a better educated workforce, right? You choose. Tell me. You don't get to make that argument when there's no room for the debate. You know, Hillary has a detailed plan for, everybody knows, in order for us to be able to take advantage of this resurgence that's there, we've got to do two things. We have to have a 21st century infrastructure, which we don't have now. We rank 27th in the world in transportation. The United States of America, 27th in the world. And we have to have the best educated workforce in the world. That's what Jeannie's done up here. Jeannie working with our proposals, the money we have for community college, bringing businesses and colleges together to train. It's one of the reasons why your unemployment rate is down below 3%. Not only is Trump against it, we don't get much of a chance to make the case. And as I said, look, I'll just use one more. I got a lot. I get so upset. Over the last 8 years, Barack's leadership, Barack and I, have increased solar power 30-fold. No, 30-fold. Adding jobs in the solar industry 12 times faster than all the rest of the economy. And they're good-paying jobs. They're middle-class jobs. And I know I'm always called, as Jeannie would tell you in Washington, I'm middle-class Joe. They don't say it as a compliment. They say it, I mustn't be very sophisticated. Biden's from Scranton and Claymont like he's just a good old boy. Let me tell you, I know more about the middle class than they do. It's not just a matter of equity and fairness. The reason why the United States has had the social and political stability it's had for over 200 years is because of the constantly growing middle class. Even when England and France and our allies going through difficult times have found crises at home, we have not, because we have a middle class. And what is being middle class? It's all about, I was with President Xi. I've spent more time with President Xi than any leader in the world. Over 25 hours of private dinners with him. Just me, an interpreter, his interpreter and mine. And we're in Chengdu, a city now of 20 million people on the Tibetan plateau. And he turned to me, Jeannie, in the meeting, my word is abide. He turned to me and he said, can you define America for me? That was a legitimate question. I said, yes, I can, Mr. President, in one word. Possibilities. Think about it. Just one word. Possibilities. What is it about us that makes us different than every other nation in the world? We have been weaned on the notion that if we do our part, anything is possible. That's what the middle class is. And when I said the middle class at a meeting with all our economists, the president and I, early on in the administration, it was, there he goes again. And one of them, someone you know well, Jeannie Turner, said, can you define middle class for me? And immediately the economist said it's $51,200 or $53,800. There was a debate. I said, no. The middle class is a value set. Middle class in America means being able to send your kid to a park and know they're going to come home safely. Being able to send your kid to a local high school that if they do well, they can get into college. If they get into college, you'll find a way to be able to get them there, that you can own your home, not just rent it, and then one of your geriatric parents dies, you can care for the other, and you hope and you pray that you build enough equity in your home or your savings that your children never have to take care of you. Amen. No, all kidding aside, that's middle class. And guess what? Because of the debacle we inherited up until the last 2 years, the middle class has been shrinking in America. It's less than 50% of the country for the first time in a long, long time. We're no longer, headline in the New York Times last March, Americans no longer the wealthiest middle class in the world. Canada. Ladies and gentlemen, this cannot be sustained. This cannot be sustained. And so these are middle-class jobs. Those infrastructure jobs are middle-class jobs. These are jobs you can raise a family on. They generate a virtuous cycle. And what's Hillary's plan? Hillary lays out, and by the way, today, renewable energy, since we've come in office in 8 years, employs more people than all the people who work for Google, Apple, and Facebook combined. No, let's put that, they're good folks. But more people now work, we've created more jobs in renewable energy than in Google, Apple, and Facebook combined. Ladies and gentlemen, so Hillary wants to follow on now that we have this opportunity where we're actually growing again. And she wants to, and by the end of her first term, she promises, and with the help of these two guys, it's going to happen. No, she promises 500 million solar panels. 500 million solar panels will be installed, an additional 500 million on people's homes. Ladies and gentlemen, within 10 years, we will be able to be in a position totally within our reach to have enough renewable energy to power every single solitary home in America. This is not a joke. We are now 3 times as efficient in being able to generate solar power. The science is moving exponentially. And guess what? It has the benefit of saving the planet for your kids. Just a little aside. I was going to talk to you about her tax plan. I was going to talk to you about some other things. But look, guys, it really is a shame we're not having this discussion and debate. You know, I'll conclude by saying Maggie doesn't have to make anything up to deal with her opponent, who I think is a decent woman. I like her. I find her. I don't have anything negative to say.